The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Monday, October 15th, Tuesday, October 16th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great weekend as well as a good day and night today. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio, and we welcome all of you to tonight's show. Want to check out our archives? Guess what? They are free for you to listen to. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. I would appreciate that, and please hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, soon shop at our brand new store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin bringing high-quality messages to the masses. Do me a favor, go to our website, click on the Ensuho banner on the front page, and subscribe to the channel today. For many of us out there, we grew up with comic books and action movies of our favorite characters, where we long wished we could have that superhero title and lifestyle that seems to come along with it. Well, if you didn't know, there's actually a whole League of Nations out there for real-life superheroes. And we are joined by two of them tonight. From San Diego, California, Urban Avenger, and from Seattle, Washington, the Red Ranger. These two gentlemen, who have secret identities and lives, spend their free time protecting the public from everything from public nuisances and potential problems to people wanting to get home at night safely after maybe a drunken night out at the club. It does happen. These gentlemen and women help keep the streets clean of crime. Some call them vigilantes of the oddest variety, but they take their positions very seriously, and tonight we're going to learn more. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we got Olaf Phillips coming back for another edition of our news section we call The Encounter. Mr. Urban Avenger, this is your second time on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
I am excellent. Thank you very much, and it's so good to be back. Thank you for having me again.
It was about 11 months ago that we were introduced to you through author Nadia Fazani, who actually wrote a book about real-life superheroes and actually spent 4 months on the streets working with people such as yourself and up in Seattle and all around North America, trying to study what really goes on with this whole superhero lifestyle. How did you get into it?
Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. About back in 2010, I saw a movie called Kick-Ass, and, the main character in the movie ponders the question, why don't people dress up as superheroes and go out and help people? And I don't know what it was about that particular moment in my life, that exact instance, but I had an epiphany, and I thought, why not? Why don't people dress up as superheroes and go out and stop crime and help people and protect the people who can't protect themselves? And so I decided to go home and start looking into this because my friend who had seen the movie with me, he mentioned a couple of real-life superheroes, and I had no idea this phenomenon even existed. So I did my research. I spent several days online, looking up real-life superheroes, and I found an entire registry of people, dozens of people who took up costumes and personas and these, superhero names. And they went out and they did homeless outreach, and they got hurt defending people who were being attacked. And I was just so inspired that I had to, get in on this myself and become a real life superhero.
And we bring in your good friend who's way north on the I-5 of you, about 17 hours to 18 hours drive north in Seattle, Washington. Gentleman that we call the Red Ranger. Mr. Ranger, how are you tonight, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio.
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. Great to be here.
Really appreciate you coming in. My friend, you are down in the Emerald City, where it is such a beautiful, beautiful, picturesque city on the west coast of the United States. And, of course, right north of you, we have beautiful Vancouver up here in British Columbia as well. I want to know how you got started in all of this. What made you decide that this was something you needed to do?
Man, my origin story is certainly one. I guess it started, as a kid, I was always a big fan of comic books. I kind of found a lot of my role models in comic book heroes, and just sort of thought that those ideals were always good ones to keep, protect truth, justice, and the lives of all free people. But I got some more experience, after high school working in the medical field, in my medical training, and, being exposed to emergency situations like in the emergency room. And there was this one time where I had my very first trauma case. It was overnight in the emergency room, and there was a gentleman who had been shot, and long story short, we couldn't revive him. And it was the first time I had seen something like that, and I kind of thought to myself that yeah, if I had the power to, I'm going to do everything I can to prevent this. And so when I finally moved up here to the Emerald City and got more established in the city, I didn't really know where to start, but I always knew this is something I wanted to do. And of course, I had heard about the other real life superheroes we'd had in the city. I'm not the first, actually. The first I knew was actually my partner, El Caballero, who's been doing this a lot longer than me. But he also runs on my team, the Emerald City Heroes organization, or we go by ECHO for short. And I couldn't tell really how to start, so I had a red Power Ranger costume that I had used for like Halloween beforehand. And I always admired the red Power Ranger. I mean, all the Power Rangers, but the red one especially, because he was kind of like, I don't know, the coolest guy. But I put that on just because I didn't really have anything else. And the idea was I just didn't want people to know who I was because it wasn't about me. And I wanted people to eventually decide that the idea of what I was doing was more important. So I put that on to obscure myself, and eventually I just started giving out like food and water to the local homeless people here in Seattle. And eventually in some neighborhoods, people started talking about me as the Red Ranger. And it happened that El Caballero and the rest of, at the time, our partner Dragon, were patrolling in the same areas, and they kept hearing about this Red Ranger. And so one time we actually coincidentally just met up and crossed paths, and I said, "Oh my gosh, it's you guys! I actually know who you are. I'm a big fan." And they said, "Oh, well, we've actually been hearing a lot about you." And that night they asked if I wanted to patrol with them, and I said yes. And I never looked back. We had our first Mayday situation that year where things got hairy, and I earned my badge. And I've been in the team ever since. That was, I think, back in 2012.
So you've been 2013. You've been doing this a while.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I want to get into this whole real life superheroes. I mean, for a lot of people, they may not understand Urban Avenger, why you're doing this. Why do you feel it's your necessary and maybe civic duty to bring this superhero persona to the very dangerous streets of any major city in the United States or Canada?
Well, I believe honestly that we all need to kind of look out for each other because, apathy is really what's killing the world. People walk by and they see someone lying, bleeding in the middle of the street, and they just keep on walking. They keep on going. It's none of their business. They don't bother because it has nothing to do with them. It doesn't directly affect them. So they don't have anything to do with it, and they just dismiss it. And that's the problem, is that you see somebody becoming a victim, why wouldn't you do something, even if it's just to yell, call the police, or to yell, help out? Kitty Genovese is one of those world famous stories that you sometimes hear about. Her anniversary was fairly recent. And back in the late 60s, she was assaulted by a man. She was stabbed repeatedly in the middle of this apartment complex, like in the courtyard. And he actually came back later, a couple of hours later in the night, and finished the job while she just lay there helpless in the middle of this courtyard in this apartment complex where she lived. And I think that for a lot of people, that's really what, sparked their motivation, was hearing that story to become a real life superhero and to go out and help people.
Yeah, and what's more with that story, too, is there were like 20 or more people who witnessed the assault, and everybody assumed that somebody else would take care of it. So nobody called any sort of authorities. Nobody intervened. I think there was one guy who kind of shouted down, "Hey, stop that." But that was about it that was reported. And it was all because everybody just kind of, somebody thought somebody would get to it. And, it's that apathy that, Urban Avenger mentioned that really was the infamous factor there.
Yeah, and I can see where the whole idea is necessary, because you patrol the streets in two different cities, Urban Avenger in San Diego and you, Red Ranger, in Seattle. So when you look at it, I mean, what is the public reaction to you. And Red Ranger, we'll start with you on this one. What's the public reaction to you and your team when you walk down the streets of downtown Seattle?
Well, it varies. We've been doing this a while, so if we were to keep patrolling today, most of the time, people are really happy to see us. Sometimes they're shocked because some people still don't know quite what we're doing. We look a lot different, with our suits on, and people sometimes aren't sure what we're doing, but a lot of locals sort of know who we are by now, and most of the police force knows as well. So when we're seen on the streets, even by the authorities, we get a smile and a wave most of the time. But there's a couple times where, we'll run into people who either know that we do intervene on situations and they don't like that. So they will make it a point to antagonize us when they see us. And that's fine. That happens. We're ready for that. So yeah, it's really the whole spectrum from, the most part, the happy times. And then there's the, confusion and the, oh, what are these guys doing? And then there's also the people who definitely don't like us.
Is it pretty much
But
the same way in San Diego?
Unfortunately.
Go ahead, Urban.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely have to, concur with Red Ranger here. It's definitely a mixed bag of reactions everywhere from fear to ecstatic happiness. People recognize us. They've heard of us. They've seen us on the news. My first incident I ever stopped was back in 2010 around, I think, August. And August or September, somewhere around there. It was in the fall. And, we stopped this big assault, and there was this huge crowd gathering around, this 2-on-1 fight. We came in and broke it up. And a couple of weeks later, we're walking through the streets, and people were like, hey, we heard about you. We heard you stopped this fight, yada, yada, and we think you guys are great. And then there's other people who, that really makes your day, by the way, when you hear something like that. And then there's other people who are scared out of their minds. They have no idea what you're doing. They think you're some kind of freak and you're out to cause trouble, and they'll call the police on you. And it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I think that the reaction is genuinely positive.
A lot of people may...
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah. A lot of people may look at you guys and people such as yourselves as people who are getting in the way of real police duties, of people who, and we'll get more into the police later, but I'm just curious in regards to a lot of people saying, are these men and women who are doing this, are they having psychological problems? Do we know if they're trained for certain areas? I mean, because in the realm of normalcy, people are not dressing up in uniforms, which I'll call for you guys, but a lot of people would use, I guess would be a derogatory term, a costume. If we can go down that road, I don't think it's too politically correct of a topic, but the whole idea is there's probably a lot of people wondering what the hell is wrong with you guys for doing this. Red Ranger, I want to get your opinion. What about the public and some of the critiques you hear?
Oh, okay. I can handle some of those. So, the first thing I want to mention is, a lot of people would wonder, well, what are these guys doing? What gives them the right? How do we even know they have the training? And, one thing I want to say about me and my team is we're all very carefully vetted. We all have martial training, medical training. A lot of us are past military or law enforcement. And we really draw talents from a lot of sides. For example, I mentioned I have medical experience, and I am team medic. But I also have, we are all martially trained, and we train with each other regularly. And we also, we always will train and follow the law. So that's the answer for those who would call us vigilantes. We hear that, and we always kind of just wait to, well, vigilantes, they take the law into their own hands. And while we are out there and being vigilant, we don't ever, we never take the law into our own hands. We always know our local law. We know legal use of force. We train and drill on that stuff regularly. So what we do is 100% legal. We don't use anything that breaks the law, and we always stress that every time we patrol. Another thing is, a lot of people, I guess, they might say that, oh, well, these guys are crazy. Who would dress up like that? What I want to say about the suits and the uniforms is that they're functional, as they have form and function to them. So as they are flashy and out there, it makes us identifiable and recognizable in our communities. When people see us over and over again, they realize these guys aren't scary. They're here to, we hope at least they'll understand we're here to help. And, they're also fully functional. They do serve as armor because we do put ourselves in dangerous situations, so we want to always be protected for that. I myself have been in quite a few of those situations where my armor has protected me from great bodily harm, and that's why we wear it. So, but I guess, though, to the question of does it take someone, wouldn't these guys be kind of crazy? I guess that's an argument I can't really answer. Maybe we are. Maybe it does take someone who's a little bit different to do this kind of work. But I just am a guy who wants to help. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. How about for you, Urban Avenger? I mean, the people around you, your family, your friends, do they even know you do this, number one? But number two, the public reaction to you doing what you're doing, because there's a lot of people out there who will say, you guys are nuts for doing this.
Well, to answer your first question, yes, my family is aware of it. The majority of them do know what I do, and they don't totally support it, mostly because they are concerned for my safety. And that concern is totally justified because, yes, I have been hurt in the past, and I will probably be hurt in the future at some point. I hope not, but it's rare, but it has happened. And as far as, the public reaction, are you crazy? Well, to a certain degree, I wouldn't say the word crazy, but not normal. I mean, what really is normal, right? I mean, it does take a certain kind of someone to dress up the way we do and go out and put ourselves at risk. Maybe eccentric would be a good word. I've never met a totally normal, lame, boring person who does this. It's always someone fairly eccentric, and they're also very passionate. And I think that's the most important part, is that they're very passionate about wanting to help people and wanting to make a difference in their community, because at least for the people that I've met, they're tired of seeing things the way they are, and they want to make a change. And they feel that the only way to make a change is to go out and do it themselves.
So what kind of change do you think you're making?
Well, I've saved a few lives. First of all, I've had people come up and literally thank me for saving their life. I know I've at least made a difference in some people's lives at one point or another. Like, obviously, you're not going to, make that permanent change, that life-altering course necessarily, but at least for that one time, that one instance where you intervened or you got involved in some way, you saved someone, whether it was, from them being assaulted, or maybe it was from them being arrested. Maybe you de-escalated a situation and you kept them from going to jail or making a horrible mistake that would alter the rest of their lives. Who knows? It's really hard to say.
So when you come across someone, Red Ranger, and you are trying to calm down a situation, let's say a couple of guys, they've had a few too many, one guy hits on the other guy's girlfriend, everybody's now a tough guy outside the bar, the fight starts, and you come in there and you try and break things up. What's the public reaction to when you are doing that?
Generally, positive, I would say, when that happens. Normally, like I said, people... we're a little bit more recognizable in our city just because we've been doing this for a number of years now. But it's usually a mixture of shock, confusion, and then, okay, we know what's happening here. And people definitely want to stay and watch because that's not something you see every day. But usually people all know what we're trying to do there. And depending on the situation, we always try to de-escalate first. That's our go-to tactic on our team. We regularly drill that de-escalation is our primary mode of intervention when we see situations like this. And a lot of times in situations like what you're describing, we would call the we call it the angry bro hug. Because what that is two people not necessarily hitting each other, but are getting up in each other's face in a I might hug you, but I might hit you fashion, So usually what we do there is we try and get in the middle and separate and try and get both guys to talk to either us or someone else to get them to calm down and separate. And usually when people see that and that we're not just there to start a fight or make things rambunctious, they really calm down and they see, oh, okay, these guys are here to help. So, like I said, sometimes we get people that'll try and antagonize us when they see us, but usually when they see us working like that, they'll know what we're here to do.
Do you get antagonized a lot, though?
Yeah, it has happened. I will say that it fortunately, I would say that the reaction is more positive than antagonistic, but it does happen, yeah.
How about for you, Urban Avenger? Do you find that when you are trying to de-escalate a system or a situation, that when you are in the vicinity of any potential violence, that it quickly turns to you guys because they think you guys are just a bunch of idiots with costumes rather than trying to protect the public?
It has happened in the past. Yeah. We've, come across situations where there's big groups of people starting to yell at each other and trying to, instigate a fight. And we walk in the middle of them, much like Red Ranger described, and they'll turn their attention to us because, they feel maybe threatened or intimidated in some way, or maybe they're just confused and equally scared. I don't know what the other people are thinking, but it has happened in the past where we have, gotten in between a group of people and the potential victims walked away, but we're still dealing with the antagonizers. And, that was one of those situations where I actually had to pepper spray somebody because they wouldn't just back down. And they didn't even care about the original people that, they were focused on before. They wanted to, I guess, prove a point with us. And it got violent. No amount of de-escalation was going to solve anything because they were intent on fighting somebody.
And how often does that happen, though? Because, a lot of people, the minute they see a street fight, they go the other way. They don't want any part about it because usually today, it's not like back when I was a kid or many of our listeners were kids where, two people squared off. Today, it's all about jumping in and helping your buddy out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's actually pretty rare that happens. I could probably count on one hand how many times in 8 years I've been doing this. I can count on one hand how many times that type of thing has happened.
How about for you, Red Ranger?
How many times have multiple attackers kind of jumped into the fray? Oh, man. So many. Yeah, that's happened actually to me a lot of the time. So my team actually handles a lot of larger protest situations. We've done, here in Seattle, we have something called the May Day protests. And every year, there's a lot of groups that come out and do peaceful demonstrations and marches through the city. Then we also have a lot of folks who sometimes like to hijack that and, cause some violence. And those are always larger, more organized groups. We've had everything from Black Bloc to the alt-right neo-Nazi groups that have shown up in our city to cause violence. And we have faced off with them both. And in those situations, it's always 20 or more on the few of us. Luckily, we're trained for that. We have tools with us that we use to protect ourselves and the people around us. And when people, I'll give one example. A couple May days ago, I was attacked by a couple members of these neo-Nazi groups identified from the symbols on their plankboard shields. But they showed up here to Westlake, and they, which is the kind of the park area in the middle of the town here, in the middle of the city, downtown. And they were having a large protest, and of course they were met by counter-protesters. And I saw all these people descending upon this old lady with sticks in their hands, and I got in the way with my shield and protected him. Protected the people behind me, the old lady and the group behind her. And I took about probably 4 iron rods to my shield all at once. And they saw that on my shield I had duct taped a peace sign onto my shield. And then I remember hearing they shouted, "He's got a communist cross." I don't know what that means, but they got really mad. And they started attacking me. And me and my partner, El Caballero, were able to fend off the attack, but they did leave some scars on my helmet face mask that took some chips into it.
Oh, wow.
Those guys were arrested, but yeah, we took care of them, and nobody got seriously hurt. It's always those situations where I'd rather I'm the one getting punched than the innocent people.
Well, let's talk
than
about that.
the other civilians who aren't ready.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because I'm very interested in both of you, and I think this is very important. You guys have to be safe. Not only do you have to obey the law, because technically you're not part of the law, you're just enforcing the law almost on a citizen level. But there's also the danger, like you said, of being attacked by mobs or being attacked by drunken fools or whomever it may be. Somebody from the crustier side of society. How do you protect yourself? What kind of training, Urban Avenger, do you go through in order to prepare for the real-life superhero lifestyle?
Well, I have several years of martial arts training, mostly Chinese Kempo, which is kind of brutal. I also have some basic other self-defense training, including boxing and jiu-jitsu. But I also have de-escalation training from our local sheriff's office. And I also usually wear body armor as well, bulletproof vest, and some other kind of impact armor as well.
But physically and mentally, you have to prepare. So how do you do that?
Yeah, and it's just about, maintaining calm, rational demeanor. I'm a fairly logical person already as it is, so I tend not to get emotional when it comes to things that don't involve me. Like I can be, I can have that type of mentality. I can express it physically, but it doesn't mean I'm losing my cool necessarily. Like I can shout, stop it or drop it or whatever, whatever it is that I need to do to get somebody's attention. I can be forceful, but I'm not going to lose my emotional cool, because the second that happens, I'm going to do something that I didn't necessarily mean to do. So it's a lot of psychological training and conditioning, and you just have to be of that appropriate mindset.
And how about for you, Red Ranger? What kind of training do you go through and your team go through, both mentally and physically, in order to prepare to do this job?
It's a great question. So we do drills and we do build meets that prepare us and our gear for the job that we do. Firstly, I think the easiest part is the build meets that we do, and that's part of not only the preparation of our gear, but it's also part of our psychological preparation, because we'll get together, we'll talk about our strategies, we will do drills about, weapon disarmament and, de-escalation. And a lot of that comes down to, drilling in your mind what you would do in the situation. And for a lot of us, we already know. But it comes down to making sure that when the time comes, you can be effective. You don't want to be over-emotional, and you don't want to, be too rash also, because you don't, like I said, there have been times where others who aren't affiliated with my team have gone too far with the law, and that got them into trouble. So we want to make sure that we want to keep emotion and rashness out of our process. So it's, like I said, de-escalation drills, and it's thinking actively about what would we do in these situations. And part of it is also never really turning off your patrol mode. I mean, like a lot of us, we have our secret identities, we have our 9-to-5s and our daytime lives, but you can't just expect to run into trouble when we're on patrol. So I find, I don't know if this is true for you, Urban Avenger, that even when I'm doing my day-to-day, I'm still always scanning the area to make sure everything's cool and safe around me, and the people around me, just because I want to be aware of my surroundings. And part of that comes from our mental training and the physical training that we do.
Absolutely, yeah. I coined a phrase back when I first started doing this. I'm always on patrol, even when I'm not on patrol.
Yeah.
That mindset, like you were talking about. Like, I'm always on. I'm always aware. I try not to have headphones in. I try not to be, in my own little world, so to speak.
And that has to be tough, because you just can't turn the switch off.
Yeah, it's not easy to.
No.
So how do you relax?
Not when you've been doing it.
How do you relax, Red Ranger?
Well, it just becomes a part of your life. It's never turned off, and you never really have your guard necessarily down, but you can still, you learn to integrate the rest of life into that process also. I think that's really hard for a lot of people to conceptualize and understand. And I think that might be why, or part of the reason that makes this such a unique profile job that we do. But you just kind of, it all kind of blends together into one experience. And for those of us that do this, I think that experience is amazing.
And what do you think, Urban Avenger?
I have to agree. It is hard to relax sometimes, and you just kind of get used to it. It almost becomes kind of like a second nature, where you're just kind of casually observing, but you're not hard focused on every little detail around you. I wouldn't even call it paranoid, but just self-aware. Situational awareness is actually the proper term.
Yeah, that is the term that we use.
This type of thing. Yeah.
But still,
and we have a lot of other.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying we do have a lot of other techniques and drills we use to strengthen that situational awareness. A lot of them actually on my team, we use a lot of Tai Chi actually helps, because it helps you get your balance and breathing well. And if you can focus your balance and breathing, you can it's easier to understand what's around you. Anyway, we have lots of drills where we will actively practice heightening our situational awareness at all times. And especially on patrol, it's a matter of the way you carry not only your physical posture, but also your state of mind. Kind of like what Urban Avenger was saying.
Urban Avenger, tell us about your team that you roll with.
I only have a few people on my team. We formed about 5 years ago, and I don't really recruit, so to speak. I wait until the right person comes along, and I'm like, hey, maybe you want to, run with me and patrol. So there's about 4 or 5 people on my team. Myself, my wife, who is a certified EMT, and he's kind of like my second partner. He's there's no ranks, so to speak. So him and I patrol pretty regularly together. He's been in the security field for the last 20 years. He has a lot of experience. He's dealt with tons of violent situations, and so he's definitely someone who I look up to and respect. And he's one of the first person who I kind of recruited. We kind of met randomly. It's hard to explain. And the other person I have on my team is Red Diamond. He's a licensed private investigator. Actually, he just got his investigator license last year, and he's going through a lot of criminology classes. And he's very intelligent person and very well educated, and he's had a lot of experience doing this. He actually started out in Florida many years ago and migrated over here to San Diego.
Oh, that sounds fun. And how about your team, Red Ranger? Tell us about Echo.
Well, Echo has a larger group, I guess. I think, man, what is our active numbers right now? It was 8. I think it's hold on. I think I have to do a quick count of our active members. Yeah, I think we have about 8 right now. And most of we have a lot of different backgrounds that come into our team. Like there's myself, who's more medically inclined. I have a lot of first aid training and other medical credentials that go into my my job, my 9-to-5 job, and my other partner, El Caballero. He is been doing this a long time. Also, a lot of us, like him and most of us, we have the de-escalation and police safety training class from the city of Seattle certificate. We also have a lot of past law enforcement, like our one of our female members, Spirit Fox, is past military. So is our member Shockwave. Let's see, we have a lot of martial artists in our team. Our partner Dragon, one of our founding members, he was really kind of the head of the martial arts training for our team. He was kind of the one who spearheaded that. And then we also have an engineer on our team. That would be White Baron, who leads our build meets and helps us engineer all of our gear, everything from our bulletproof vests to our stab-proof armor to he actually designed and built my bulletproof shield. Yeah, we have a lot of experience that comes into our team. We also have Skyman, forgot to mention, who's actually our homeless outreach specialist. He specializes in gathering supplies, gear, and resources to help better the lives of the homeless residents of our city, because those are missions we always try to do as regularly as possible as well. So like I said, lots of different talents that we bring into our team, all very carefully vetted, all making sure that we know our training, we know what's safe, and we can use our talents to help our city and our community as best as possible.
You guys keep mentioning this as work. Do you get paid for this?
No, absolutely not.
So why call it work instead of a hobby?
Well, because I think it's more than a hobby. It takes real work. It takes a lot of energy to, as much as we do enjoy it, to go out and put yourself on the line and patrol the streets the way we do. It takes a regular schedule. It takes devoting a lot of your time, especially, it's late, it's after work, and a lot of times you don't necessarily want to go out on patrol right now. You're tired, but, we know that there's people to help, so we do it anyway.
So how often are you guys?
So I think in that
how
respect,
often are you guys doing this? Red Ranger, let's start with you on this.
Well, we try to go at least once a week. Sometime, and our schedule really changes up a lot. So we go everywhere from 3 to 4 times a week to maybe once every other week sometimes, when we have sort of a lull in our membership availability. Because another thing is that we always stress on our team is we do all have lives outside of this. We have families. And one thing we stress is that you need to have your own house in order before you can help anybody else's. So family comes first. And if for any reason you can't patrol, right? But we always try to go out when possible. And but we also try to never have a regular schedule, because we don't want to be predictable. So like I said, we go as often as possible, preferably 3 to 4 times a week. Lately, it's just been about maybe 1 to 2 times a week, past few weeks. And, about the past month. But like I said, we don't want to keep it too predictable.
I noticed that you mentioned Red Ranger as well as Urban Avenger, the fact that you have women on your team. And I think that's very important because the majority of people who think superheroes, we always think of men. And the fact that there are women standing up and wanting to do this, I mean, and there are some, not probably enough, comic characters of female superheroes. I mean, the main one being Wonder Woman. But, I mean, there could always be more. So when you have more women joining these teams and wanting to be a real-life superhero as well, that has to be positive for the crowd and the people who see you, from little children to adults. Urban, if you want to take that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely inspiring to a certain extent because, frankly, there aren't enough women in this community of real-life superheroes. Red Ranger mentioned earlier Rock and Roll, who's been around about as long as I have. And, she's definitely one of the leading ladies in the community. She's, very active in the outreach side of things.
Yeah.
And there's a few women down here aside from my own wife, Sheer. On the Extreme Justice League, there's at least 3 or 4 women on that team alone, and it's always good to see, them wanting to take part in this kind of activism.
And how about for your team, Red Ranger?
Yeah, we definitely have a few women on the team. We have right now the most active are Girl Scout and Spirit Fox, 2 of our ladies on the team that do a lot of really serious work with us and have been, especially Girl Scout. She's been doing this even longer than me. There's been a few different teams operating in Seattle, and there's a lot of drama that went into that, and that was actually covered in the book you mentioned earlier. But yeah, Girl Scout's been doing this since the original teams in the city. And Spirit Fox, while she's one of our newer members, has a lot of experience already under her belt and does some really good work with us as well.
Now, you mentioned a couple of your team members, Red Ranger, have military backgrounds. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, especially if they're coming out of combat?
Well, we want to always make sure that everybody who is on our team is safe and knows what they're doing and can handle themselves. So we think that it is a good thing, given that our people are vetted, they're safe, they know what they're here to do, and they also have that physical and mental experience that's needed for high stress situations. Not only can they handle themselves physically, and stay fit and prepared to handle any situation, be it violent or just helping out. That's an A+ thing that we're always looking for. And they also generally will have the stress management and mental fortitude to handle the high stakes situations. So we think that those qualities are a plus. We do realize that, there are some people coming out of the military that might not be as fit for this kind of work. And, we respect that. And for those people, if they're not fit for this kind of stuff, then it's not something we would recommend,
So when you say you are testing people to join your team, what kind of tests? So for instance, if let's say they did a couple of tours in Afghanistan and they suffer from PTSD, they may not qualify to be on your team.
Sure. We have had a lot of people try out for the team and not necessarily make the cut. And we do tryouts. It starts with we have a physical application form that we would send out to you and have you submit to us. And after that review, that contains a lot of questions that we designed personally to sort of gather information about someone's personality. And we actually do keep the contents of the application confidential except for applicants. But I will give out some of the big ones. Like we do ask when the last time they saw themselves as helpful was and how. We want to know, what they consider to be helpful. And we also ask, what kind of values do you have? And, what do you see that you could do better in our community? And then after that, if we agree with their application, we'll invite them out for a test patrol. And we will fit them with our guest, we call it our guest vest. It's another bullet resistant vest that we'll parcel out to newcomers or media members or anybody who wants to join us on the patrol. And we'll basically have them follow us and see if their temperament and their ability to assess the situation and, follow adequate instructions and have that good situational awareness, all the good qualities that we're looking for in a good member of our team. And after a few of these test patrols, we'll have a vote. And if the unanimous vote, because we do require a unanimous vote from all active team members to confirm a new team member, if all current team members agree that the applicant should be a part of the team, we fit them in. If not, then we can have a revote.
Urban Avenger, how do you guys go about choosing new members if you are getting many applications as well?
That's the thing. I don't particularly recruit a lot of people. I'm actually extremely picky about people who can patrol with me and who can join my team. It's not that I think I'm better than anybody, but it's that over the years I've worked with other teams and been involved with other teams. I've realized that it's not a numbers game. It's a person game. So if I find someone who comes along and I like them and I get to know them over time, I'll ask them to come aboard and join my team. Like with Red Diamond, for example, he was someone who I got to know ahead of time, and I realized his potential, and I asked him to come and patrol with my group, and he was probably the only person I ever truly recruited. And, he's been an invaluable member of the team, and he tries to come to every patrol that he can. He lives about an hour away, so it's kind of hard to arrange, times for him to come down and patrol with us because he lives out in kind of the boonies. So yeah, I'm really picky, and it's more because it's hard to find good people. You can teach someone any kind of skill or any kind of tactic, but you can't teach someone to be a good person. And that's the kind of people I look for.
But with the applications that kind of come in and people say, hey, I want to do this, Red Ranger. Mm-hmm. There are a number of people who they love the title. I even notice it with this show is we'll get a lot of people saying, hey, can I do this for you? Hey, can I do that for you? And you kind of feel them out and you get, oh, okay, sure, we'll give it a shot. But all they want is the title.
Right.
They don't want to do the work. Do you find a lot of that?
Well, we've definitely seen it. We've had certain applicants, whether it be a way that they just want to, have their moment of fame, or whether, we've also had people that apply for the team and they're not mentally fit for the team, and we've had people apply that aren't physically fit. But for people that really just aren't serious about the work, it's usually really easy to tell. And we usually would avoid feel like that. We probably wouldn't even give them the application. But for, if after the fact we're noticing that that's really the goal, it would be a hard pass from everybody.
And how do you screen though? Like when you have that person and they say, let's say they pass all their qualifications, but they flunk in the field after their couple of times are saying, this is just too much of a commitment, or I don't want to do this. I mean, that looks bad on you guys too in your training program.
Exactly. Which is why when we have those first few test patrols, we'll always introduce the applicant as a test patroller. And if after the first one or two patrols, we'll always have a conversation. And if or if anybody on the team notices these qualities that, hey, they don't seem very serious, we'll have that conversation and, reach that agreement that that's not something we want to have on our team.
Would you concur with that, Urban Avenger?
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes you can't tell what kind of a person they're going to be until they get out on the field and they're maybe even involved in the situation. We had a guy years ago who showed up to every patrol. He was always on time. He had kind of a weird costume, but, that's beside the point. I mean, maybe that is the point. And one time, it hit the fan and he ran off. He abandoned everyone in the middle of a violent altercation, and he never came back after that, and we didn't want him to come back.
No kidding. You need these people to have your back.
Exactly.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you guys to hold on because we're going to go out for our first break of the night. A quick first hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking real-life superheroes from San Diego, California, Urban Avenger, and from Seattle, Washington, Red Ranger. We're going to get more into what makes a real-life superhero in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening because with Spaced Out Radio, Little Brother is watching.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hey, guess what? You can now get your brand new Spaced Out Radio swag at spacedoutradio.com. We've brought the store back with all new items for you to pick out and pick up for yourself, your family, or friends. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, we got it all. All you have to do is head to our website and click on Store. Choose what you want and it's shipped to you. The Spaced Out Radio store is right there for you. Come shop with us at spacedoutradio.com. Then we can own the night together.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are. And what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else. including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we got Daryl, we got Russ coming in. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot in California starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We say hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. All of our archives, you can find them for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Monocopsis. Monocopsis is your password. Be sure to use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Shop at our store. Our new store is coming very, very soon. We're hoping to launch it within the next 2 weeks here. And you can read up on the Encounter Online, our news section. We got some great articles from Captain Shirk and so many more. I even posted a new blog on there. It's been a while since I've done that, but I posted a blog about Squatch. You know, I hate that word. Nonetheless, go to the Encounter and read on up. Tonight we are talking real-life superheroes. Yes, men and women getting dressed up in uniforms that they have created, walking the streets of major cities across North America, helping keep the streets safe. Tonight we are talking from San Diego, California, Urban Avenger, and from Seattle, Washington, Red Ranger. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Oh, really, really appreciate it. Now, I want to get into your uniforms. Many people will call them costumes. You call them uniforms. I'm curious, and we'll start with you, Urban Avenger. How did you come up with your uniform? So we got to paint a picture here. Describe it for our audience and how you came up with it.
Well, it's evolved over the years. It's changed many times. Much like Iron Man, I have marks 1 through, I don't know, maybe 9 by now. So my current uniform consists of a British military gas mask, but instead of the lenses, because they fog up and you can see through them, and I don't like that, I replaced them with a plastic mesh that breathes very well, and I've painted it with glow-in-the-dark paint. So when exposed to light, it shines a bright, vivid green. So I'm also wearing this red hoodie over my mask. So you have this red shroud with these glowing green eyes, these giant green bug eyes inside. And I have a red and black motorcycle armor with hard plastic on top of it, and I have my bulletproof vest underneath that. And I also have my utility belt, which is, filled with Batman-esque type gadgets, multi-tools, pepper spray, zip ties, that sort of thing. And I also tend to wear ninja tabby boots, which are two-toed boots. Think of like Ninja Turtle feet.
Wow, interesting. And how about for you, Red Ranger? How did you come up with your uniform?
Yeah, it has the beginnings of our stories are going to be pretty similar. Like I think this is true for most superheroes. Your suit will go through iterations, and it'll have like you said, the Mark 1, the Mark 2. Like I said, I actually started with just a red Power Ranger costume, and that's actually where I got my name from, because everybody started calling me the Red Ranger already. But actually what had happened was during our first Mayday, the suit didn't hold up so well. And I was forced after that big fight, where what had happened was basically my partner El Caballero had been dogpiled by about 10 very angry and combative assailants. And I rescued him, and he and I fought him off, and with the help of Seattle Police Department, got to safety. But that suit did not hold up well, so I had to go through the daunting process of designing and making a new one. But when I did that, I wanted it to be as functional as possible. So the first layer is almost always the bulletproof layer, and all your bullet-resistant armor will go underneath. After that, I actually use red spandex over my whole body to hide my skin color. And as much of my identity as I can. Following that, I have motorcycle gear layered with polycarbonate resin to make it stab and impact resistant. I also wear always, you got to wear, I know it's a little bit of a taboo topic, but you got to wear your cup. You got to always protect yourself. You also got to wear your knee guards, and my boots are actually I wear reinforced riding boots, motorcycle riding boots that have steel toe and steel heels in them, as well as reinforced ankles. This makes it so that running and sliding and doing all the other strenuous footwork that is needed for patrol, I can make sure my feet always stay impact protected. And then after that, we have my gloves, which are Kevlar gloves that are slash resistant, so they can grab blades. And I can safely do knife disarms. Then we have my mask, which is fiberglass layered with polycarbonate for the base. And for covering the eyes and mouth ventilation, we have a steel mesh to see out of. And then after that, we have my utility belt, which carries my pepper blaster to shoot a stream of pepper spray if I need it up to 70 feet, with a strobe light and regular flashlight sight. I also have smoke grenades, my med kit, full med kit, and taser. That's a stun baton that sits on the inside of my bulletproof shield. Adjacent to that stun baton on the inside of the bulletproof shield is also a fire extinguisher that I have in there.
How are you packing all of this?
Yeah, I think that about completes it.
How are you packing
Carefully.
all of this? How much does that weigh?
Very carefully. Last time I weighed it, it was about 90 pounds.
Wow, it's a workout just walking around.
Yeah, part of our workouts that we do is training while suited up.
I can see that.
We want to make sure we can always carry the weight of our gear.
Urban Avenger, how much does your gear weigh?
Oh, God, between the vest and the belt, maybe 30 pounds. I try to go light because we tend to run a lot. And, you can run heavy, sure, but you can't jump heavy. I try to keep it as light as I can. At one point, I did weigh, probably close to 45 or 50 pounds. I actually used to wear these things called AR 500 plates, and they are, in fact, I have them with me right in front of me. I don't know if you can hear this through the phone.
Oh, we can hear that.
They are quarter-inch thick, quarter-inch thick steel plates, and they will stop up to a 308 rifle round.
Oh, yeah, that's what I have on my abdomen. I forgot to mention that. I have, we molded in the shop, abdominal armor, and that's what you see covers my abs. It's stab and low-caliber bullet resistant.
Yeah, I used to wear those a lot, but it wound up causing too many problems. I'm a small guy, and this armor weighs a third of what I do. So it would cause a lot of problems with my shoulders and my back, and every night, I pretty much had to take the entire rest of the day off because the armor was so heavy on me. So I switched to a much lighter Kevlar vest.
So
the armor alone, I'm
showing
you right now.
You guys are prepared for war, and I use that term very loosely, but you guys are prepared, Urban Avenger, for any type of tactical situation.
Kind of have to be.
Like, do you not feel over-prepared, Red Ranger?
I feel like that's sort of an interesting question, because I feel like that in feeling over-prepared, I feel more prepared. And basically what I mean by that is when you are doing what we do, you can encounter anything. And we've encountered anything from a drunk guy with big fists to people who will drive by with guns. So you need to absolutely, like, and if somebody is, like we have seen that a car drives up and starts shooting out the front windows of a shop, you need to be ready to run toward the bullet sounds. You need to be ready to run toward those gunshots, which is absolutely what we do, as crazy as that sounds. And so being as prepared as we are, I think, makes us more ready to intervene in any kind of situation where we think we could help.
I can see that. You talk about wearing bulletproof vests and stab-proof items as well. How often, Red Ranger, do you have a weapon pulled on you?
It's an interesting question. Fortunately, not as often as I fear, but like I said, it has happened. I've had iron bars pulled on me at protests that have, tried to beat me in the skull. I've had blades flashed at me. I've definitely had a lot of times, not necessarily will they pull out their gun and aim it at me, but they'll, do the thing where they'll flash it in their waistband to try and intimidate you. And at that point, most of the time they're already too scared to do anything. So they'll quickly walk away when we say, okay, that guy has a gun, follow him. We've had it. We've had weapons pulled on us a fair amount of times. And like I said earlier, fortunately it doesn't happen, as often as we fear. But the key is always being ready for it to happen, because if somebody else is in a situation where they get a weapon pulled on them and they're not prepared, it's good to have the guy that's always prepared right around the corner.
How about you, Urban Avenger? How often have you had a knife or a gun pulled on you?
Directly in my face, fortunately, never. I have been threatened with a gun. There was a situation a few years ago where we got involved with some gang members, and they were one of those situations where you couldn't walk away from it. And we had to pepper spray one of the guys when he got a little too close, got too aggressive, and one of the gang members yelled, "I'm going to go get my gun." And he ran off to his car. And that was the moment when we ran off, because at that point, there was no victim involved, and we didn't want to become a victim ourselves. Most of us were wearing vests at the time. I think actually all of us had our vests on. It was a requirement for that part of town. And so there was that one instance. And then there was another instance where we were on a patrol in the middle of the night in a similar neighborhood, not too far from there, actually. And we found this baby carriage, a stroller, in the middle of the street, which we thought was incredibly creepy, like something you might actually see out of a horror movie. And we went to investigate, and it turned out it was the storage device for a homeless person who then, approached us, and we could see a box cutter in his hand. And there was two of us, and there was one of him, and I think at that point he realized he couldn't get us both, so he decided to walk away, and we walked away.
Sometimes the situations, though, aren't that simple where you just walk away, Urban Avenger.
No, absolutely not. And thankfully, I've never been in one of those situations, but I have known people who have. They've been stabbed, they've been shot, they've been beaten to a pulp and had their noses broken, what have you. Thankfully, I haven't ever been in that situation. San Diego is relatively calm compared to other parts of the country.
I want to ask you about being mentally strong for this. And Red Ranger, we're going to start with you on this one. And what I mean by that is you have to be mentally tough, not only from the physical and emotional side of things, because you're going to be seeing things that you don't want to see, but also you have to be tough because there's a lot of people out there who love to ridicule and make fun of. And if you have a soft back, it's going to ride you, and it's not going to be very, very comfortable. Mm-hmm. You have to be strong mentally. Right. So how do you develop this strength to mentally go out there, take the criticism, take the ridicule, but also be ready at the same time for anything that's escalated?
That's actually a really good question. So it starts, I think, with having a lot of conversations with yourself. And before I started doing this, and when I started doing this for the very first time, there was a lot of fear in me of what are people going to say when they think about it, when they think about me, or when they see me. I had a lot of fear about people, giving me that ridicule. But I think what ended up getting me through it was I had a lot of conversations with myself where I realized that if I let that fear stop me, I'm not going to do any good. And I had to realize that the good that I wanted to do was way more important than what anybody else would say to little old me, because that's what it's about. And none of it is about me. That's why I wear the mask. So they can say what they want about me. It doesn't matter. I'm here to do what I came to do, and that's help people. And so when you remind yourself of that, it can really help be your anchor. Because we do get that ridicule on patrol. We often have people make fun of us, or say, "Oh, you guys look ridiculous. What are you guys even doing here?" but you have to know that, what we're doing is bigger than any of that. And what I'm here to do is bigger than me. So, you put your armor up and it can't get through,
But on the flip side, I guess there's a really cool part of the public, too, who's always coming up to you and saying, hey, can we get a selfie with you or something along those lines?
Oh, yeah. And we love that. On my team, we actually really affectionately call it shaking hands and kissing babies. And those are the patrols that we do where, we'll walk around and nothing really alarming will happen. And we'll basically we'll have a whole patrol where it's just walking around and people ask us for selfies, and that's it. All night. And we love those nights, honestly. The quiet night is a good night for patrol. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Urban Avenger the same question. I mean, out of the mental status that you guys have to go through on a daily basis to deal with not only the ridicule, but the dangers of the job, how do you guys deal with that?
It's something you get used to over time. It really is. It's just a matter of experience. And it also helps. When I was younger growing up in middle school and high school and stuff, I was bullied a lot. So I got used to that kind of thing, just as my normal self. And then when you throw a mask onto that, and nobody can see you react and people can't see the faces that you're making, which is usually you sticking your tongue out at them, it completely changes the whole game. And what turns into a tense situation is really you just kind of giving them the middle finger and they can't even see it.
That's kind of cool, actually. Kind of cool. How many selfies?
That's a pretty cool way to look at it.
How many selfies a patrol do you have to stand and take photos for?
Oh, man.
On a good night, probably a dozen.
I could see that.
Yeah, a dozen at least, or sometimes a lot more. Sometimes we'll barely get any. I mean, it also depends on what part of town we're patrolling. Seattle is a big city. And we also want to make sure that when we patrol, we also shift up what areas of the city we patrol. In the same way, we don't want to be predictable with our schedules for when we patrol. We want to be unpredictable with where we patrol. So some neighborhoods are a lot more residential, a lot more quiet, and so we'll get less selfies. But if we patrol, the downtown or, where the nightclubs are, then, there's a lot of people walking around on the street. So we'll get anywhere from 20 to sometimes 30 or more selfies a night. And sometimes we'll even have to tell people that, no, we can't take a selfie because we have to keep moving. Because, when and another cool part about taking selfies is, I guess it's cool for me because when you're, posed and taking a picture with someone, a lot of times, and it's happened to other supers, El Caballero, and even another superhero who's not on my team, Phoenix Jones, it's happened to him, where, you're taking a selfie with somebody and then that person will take that opportunity while your guard's down to put you in a headlock because they don't like you very much. So part of it is never letting your guard down, and with my mask, I actually can scan the area. I don't have to look right at the camera because it can't ever show my eyes. But when you get a lot of photo requests, you have to find a way to manage it and keep being alert. But sometimes we barely get any too.
I got a question coming in from Robin in Seattle. He says, sometimes it feels like my calling to help out other people and actually try and join the real life superhero club. What's it really like being a real life superhero, and is it worth it? We'll start with you, Red Ranger.
Well, what it's like is it can be really stressful, but to me, it's really rewarding. And to me, absolutely, it's worth it. I wouldn't trade this life for anything, but I also know that it's not a life for most people. So if you're the kind of person who can handle a lot of personal sacrifice for, pretty minimal reward, except for what you take out of the work, then if you're that kind of person, then it might be worth it for you. And if you need to, you can always reach out to our team if you're in Seattle. You can find us on Facebook right now at Emerald City Heroes Organization. send us a message and, we can get to know you. But, yeah, I would say that to me, it's absolutely worth it.
And how about for you, Urban Avenger? What's it like, and is it worth it?
Oh, it's definitely been one of the best parts of my life. I've spent almost a third of my life doing this, so I wouldn't, like what Ranger said, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I can't see myself stopping outside of like a permanent physical disability, or in capacity of some kind, like maybe getting too old to the point where I can't wipe my own butt. But honestly, I would say it's worth it, but it has to be something you really want to do. A lot of people think that it's something, and then when they get in, it's not what they expected. They think it's like, Batman or Spider-Man or something. You're beating up bad guys all the time and you're swinging through the streets like a ninja. It's not like that. I've seen a lot of people over the years who have been extremely disappointed and they just give up because they don't get to beat up thugs every night. So it depends on what you want to get out of it. It depends on what your motivation is.
And I guess and you bring up something very important, Urban Avenger, is there has to be a lot of people who want to do this just so they can go fight people.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said earlier, when it comes to recruiting, I'm extremely picky because I've seen those kinds of people. They want to go out and they want to bust heads all night. They want to carry around a big stick and get into fights, and they don't want to de-escalate situations. And let me tell you, violence is the last thing we want to experience in this type of lifestyle. It's horrible. I've had blood on my hands before, and it sucks. It's the last thing you ever want to experience.
Red Ranger, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, violence can happen, and it is definitely it's the last thing you want, sure. What we really want to look for is somebody who just won't have that mentality. So when you have someone who, like you said, is combative, they're into this because, oh man, yeah, free license to fight. That is an immediate red flag. If we were to see that on a test patrol, that's an immediate no. In fact, we would probably send you home immediately because that's such a detriment to what we do. And we've seen it from other people who have done this in the past. Even in this city, like I said, we've had some people who did get too rash and were too combative and have been too combative. And I have seen and had to be there for the cleanup of that. And it's not fun because we don't want our community to see us as bullies. We don't want our community to see us as people who are just going out to break necks and take names. We want to be seen as people who are there to help. Right. So, like Urban Avenger said, violence is always our last resort. And even when we have to use force, it is always non-lethal, and it is always with the goal of subduing and removing the threat, not necessarily harm.
What about criminal records? Do you have to do a background check in order to be a real-life superhero?
Well, we don't necessarily have to, but on our team, we do. We do run background checks, and we will, you give us your name, and we're gonna run your name. And if we find anything outstanding, that could bar you, but it's basically one of those things where we're going to have a discussion about it. A criminal record isn't necessarily going to bar you from this kind of work. We know a lot of people have had criminal records and have, turned a new leaf and really turned around and learned from those mistakes. And, that's fine. But there are some people, we would, with certain records, we would absolutely take some scrutiny with. So it really, I guess that would be a case-by-case basis.
How about for you, Urban Avenger? Do you have anybody on your team who has a criminal record?
No. Thankfully not, at least not that I'm aware of. Between the multiple security licenses and private investigator licenses, we already have to undergo, and the EMT license, every single one of the people in my group already has to go through a strict background check just for their licenses and their certifications. So it's already kind of done for us. So I've never had to worry about it. As far as recruiting someone who has a criminal record, like Red Ranger said, it would have to be on a case-by-case basis, and it would have to really depend on the circumstances, the age of the offense, that sort of thing. Everyone, I believe, deserves a second chance. And I've known people who have had criminal records in the past, and, they're not repeat offenders. They're not habitual. They're not in and out of parole all the time. So those are the kinds of people who, I obviously would not want to recruit. But if someone made a mistake 10, 15 years ago and they've never, had an incident ever since, yeah, I would, consider recruiting them despite their background. Because people change.
No, that's true. And if they've done their time, why not, right?
Exactly. Right. I mean, that's part of doing time, is being forgiven and being able to move on.
I can see that. I can totally see that. I do have a question from Kat. She is asking, have either of you ever ran into a crossfire situation? Urban Avenger, let's start with you.
No, I've never had bullets fired in my immediate vicinity.
How about you, Red Ranger?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been in that situation. We've had a lot of gang violence downtown that we have been there for. One of the most recent times I can remember was in our Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle. We had a few gang members fire bullets into the at some, I guess, rival gang members. Was as far as I got out of the situation. That's all I could ascertain. I suppose I think they were rival gang members, and they were shooting at them in and towards the grocery store, the QFC there on Pike and Broadway here in Seattle. And while I think there was one person who was medevaced. I think they were okay after a little while, but I do remember that I believe that when the other group was fleeing the original gunshots they were firing back, we heard all this and immediately ran toward the gunshots and basically got there right as they were peeling out, and ran in to assess damage. But paramedics and police were there really quickly, so we had professional response on there. And that was actually a really great night for them. They did really awesome with that situation. But at that point, usually when paramedics and police get there, our job, we get hands off and we give information as much as we can. I handed my, actually, that's another part of my gear I totally forgot to mention, is the most important part, and never patrol without it, is our cameras. I always wear a body camera on me in every patrol, because we always want to be accountable to our actions. And also, when we come upon these situations, we can immediately provide video evidence to what happened. So I had my camera on me, and I was able to turn it over to police, and they used the footage of the getaway car, I believe. We've definitely been in those situations. And especially with a crossfire situation where you have many firearms involved, you want to make sure that the most armored in the team are going first. And I, with my bulletproof shield and lots of bulletproof armor, what I do is we run first and we try to get in there, block out, whoever might be in the way, make sure they get to safety.
You mentioned a lot about police, Red Ranger. And both of you work closely hand in hand with the police. What is the police's response to what you guys are doing?
At least in my end here in Seattle, it's usually very positive, because they know that my team isn't here to cause trouble. We don't necessarily have a negative record with the police here. And for the most part, unless, we've definitely had the instances where someone new on the force won't recognize us and will stop us like, hey, what are you guys doing here? You look suspicious. But it'll quickly get sorted out and they'll realize who we are. And but for the most part, when law enforcement sees us on the street, we get a gentle wave and they ask if we've seen anything tonight. And we're always happy to share information. And we do frequently.
So you have a pretty good response and rapport with the Seattle Police Department, and that has to be good. I mean, but barring the rookies, right? Barring the rookies who don't know who you guys are yet. Well, that's good because
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, because when we had Nadia Fazani on the show with Urban Avenger, I think I recall Nadia saying that there's a lot of police forces out there, Urban Avenger, who do not like what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it depends on the neighborhood. It depends on the police department. We generally have a pretty positive relationship with the police. San Diego PD generally likes us. I've heard them call out my name on their loudspeaker as they drive by, which is pretty awesome. But then you have like campus police over at the college. They've approached us with beanbag shotguns. It just depends on the department and their relationship with us and how frequently we patrol their neighborhood.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, is the frequency that you patrol a neighborhood can really help increase your rapport in the neighborhood. Visibility is key to developing a good relationship with your community.
Absolutely.
And what about, so Red Ranger, what about the City Council of Seattle or the fire department or paramedics? Obviously, they would know about you guys and what you're doing now.
Oh, sure. And for the paramedics and police department, for the fire departments, that's pretty much the same thing. We always get, polite waves and smiles and thumbs ups and sometimes honks in passing from the ambulances and the fire trucks. Usually they know we're here to help. We're oftentimes the first to call them in situations. So they're oftentimes responding when we call, I'll say this is Red Ranger of Echo and I found this person. They know exactly who to look for. So usually it's pretty good. As far as the city council goes, I can't really answer because I've never really talked to those people. The governing bodies of the city haven't ever done anything to impede us, so I would have to assume that they at least neutrally approve.
And how about for you, Urban Avenger?
Actually, it's funny you guys mentioned city council because we did a documentary back in 2011, and at the end of the movie. Yeah, we, my former group, the Extreme Justice League with Mr. Extreme and all of my other former teammates who I still have a good relationship with, we were actually honored by the city of Chula Vista and the deputy mayor.
Oh, yeah.
So they presented with us a certificate and, we had a whole presentation. Lots of people showed up. It was probably one of the highest honors anyone in this type of lifestyle can ever achieve. Being recognized.
Yeah, I actually remember that. That was really cool.
Your achievement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool that they would kind of honor you that way.
Yeah, and I've only ever heard of maybe one or two other people in all the years I've been doing this who have received any kind of honor like that. One of them was Master Legend out in Florida. He received his honorary deputyship from the sheriff's department out there.
Well, that's cool.
For his actions as a real life superhero.
But how important, Urban Avenger, is that relationship with the police specifically? Or even the paramedics would be like a 1A.
Well, I think it's more important to have a good relationship with the police than it is to have the paramedics, because the paramedics are going to come in, they're going to take care of whatever situation they can. The police are the ones who, if they don't like you, are going to detain you and put you in cuffs. And it's happened. It's happened to me. It's happened to my teammates. It's not a good situation to be in until they finally realize, what you're doing and what you're up to and why you're there. So having a good relationship with the police is absolutely critical to having a positive patrol experience out on the streets.
I'm assured you would concur, right, Red Ranger?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely critical to have that good rapport on the streets, especially with the police. You want to make sure, like I said before, that you're always following the law. You're always staying within the legal bounds of your community, and especially when you're oftentimes calling the police to help deal, because we always call the police when we have overly violent situations or any situation where we believe someone needs to be arrested. We'll call the police. And most of the time, it's so always it's so critical for them to know who you are, because they can show up, they can get your information, and the job can get done. And there's no, there's no extra fuss about it of, well, who are you guys? What gives you the right? Yada yada. If you have that good rapport with the police department, then you can. I guess it just makes the job so much easier legally, and with getting a lot of dangerous situations dealt with. That partnership is key.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I can totally see that. We're going to get to Robin's question here. He is asking, have either of you, and Urban Avenger, we'll start with you on this, have either of you ever been badly hurt or had a teammate badly hurt in a situation?
Yeah, I've been badly hurt. I had a bruised scapula. My left scapula got clipped once, and a fray, if you will, to use a word. It was a big group, and it was kind of chaotic. And this guy, he grabbed me as I was dealing with somebody else, grabbed me, spun me around, and did this wild haymaker punch. And it actually just happened to bypass my armor ever so slightly and clipped me right under my armpit. And my arm was kind of useless for about a week. I couldn't even barely drive home that night after patrol because I couldn't, turn my body in such a way to put my seatbelt on. But yeah, I've been hurt. I don't know of anyone else on my team who's been seriously injured. It's probably happened. I've also been hit with back spray with my own pepper spray. I had to pepper spray a guy, and the wind was just such a way that it blew back in my own eyes. That's a horrible feeling, especially when you're yeah. Make sure you lick your thumb and stick it up in the air before you pepper spray somebody. I'm joking, of course. But, you're blinded for about a good 30 or 40 seconds. Meanwhile, there is absolute chaos around you on all sides, and someone could easily take advantage of your immobility and your disability at that point. And, that's kind of the point of pepper spray, is to immobilize someone. So, yeah, it's happened to me a couple times.
How about you, Red Ranger? You or any of your teammates been severely hurt?
Yeah, we've been hurt. There's definitely been times where frays have left either me or some teammates bloody. I can remember a handful of times. I guess I'll just pick one. It was actually, I think, the first time my mask got broken. There was this. We were downtown in Capitol Hill, near where the active bar scene is, and there was this big crowd gathered around this club called the 95 Slide, which is no longer there. But there was this large guy, and I remember just getting a really weird vibe from him, and I decided to watch him, and I was with my compatriots, Dragon and Skyman at the time, and, they were saying, okay, let's move on. I said, no, guys, let's watch this guy. And sure enough, I just saw him walk past a random dude on the sidewalk and just slap him in the face. Now, mind you, this assailant, he's a big guy, easily 320 pounds, just giant. His fist looks like a baseball glove. It's crazy. So he just slaps this guy, and the guy's like almost knocked into the street, and he's running around like, whoa, what was that for? And immediately I run in because this big guy is now walking away, and he's walking into the larger crowd. And so I had a really bad feeling, and sure enough, he just walks into the crowd, finds some guy, and starts swinging on him with his big arms. And this poor guy gets pummeled in the ground, so I run in, and I draw my pepper blaster, and I give the guy a verbal command to stop what he's doing, but he looks at me and immediately throws a punch. I blocked it, but his fist was so big that half his fist still made contact with my mask and broke it just above my brow. It split my brow and caused a lot of blood to run into my eye. But what we did was we chased him up to this parking lot, and we cornered him with SPD, and we actually got him taken care of that night. But yeah, so we had that done. There's other times I've been, beaten on by 3, 4, 5 people at once. But a lot of that training comes into endurance training and being able to take some hits and get back up. Yeah, I could go. There's been a lot of times where we've been attacked and walked away with more than a few bruises. There's actually another time where that I can remember. It was, I think, the 3rd May Day event that I was involved in here in the city. And we had a situation where police were enacting their dispersal order, and they were firing flash grenades and smoke to disperse a crowd near the freeway so that it wouldn't disperse onto the freeway. And while they were firing indiscriminately, there were these foreign exchange students that didn't really speak English that came out from one of the buildings, and they we could tell they were trying to ask what was going on. But right when they were doing that, I saw that there was a flashbang coming for him. So me and my partner, El Caballero, ran right at him and told him to get out of the way, and we sort of dove in front of him. And I took a flashbang right on the rear end, and it left a sizable welt there for more than a week.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want them to get hurt. But no, yeah, that's just a handful of the times I've been hurt. Bruises and scratches and hits, lots of those. A few knives pulled on us, but luckily I've never been, none of my team, at least not while I've been patrolling, has been seriously hurt to the point where we needed to call medevac for an injury. We have been able to, most of the time, triage it ourselves.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Couple questions coming from Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. And this one's coming from Derek and Adnome. And both of them are kind of asking about this because this is mostly a paranormal radio show. Urban Avenger, will start with you. Have you or any of your team ever had anything paranormal or supernatural happen while out on patrol?
I can't say I've ever had anything paranormal happen while out on patrol, but I've had several experiences in my own life, over the years. Sure, yeah, I have.
Oh, give us one. Tease us a little bit. Tantalize us.
Oh, okay, sure. There's a part of town in San Diego called Old Town. It was actually the first established community in San Diego. About, I want to say like about 1850 or so is about when it was established. And they had the first courthouse, the first graveyard, the first stores, all that stuff. And there's this building there. It was a former courthouse, and people used to live there, called the Whaley House. And you can look this up, and it is on the list of haunted houses, haunted areas in America. I don't exactly know what the list is, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Of course you would. And so I used to date a girl who lived in the area. In fact, the street up to her house was a graveyard. So you could still see headstone markers in the street that they paved over the years. And we used to hang out by the Whaley House. And there's these little buildings over here with like a Cajun restaurant and some other, eateries and things. and they're up on this elevated wood deck. Now we're talking like, the building's at least 100 years old, so it's old and creaky and loud, and you can hear somebody coming from a mile away. And you'll see why I bring that up. We're sitting there talking on the bench one night, and we look over and we see this cowboy. He's got the spur, he's got the cowboy boots, got the hat, the whole 9 yards, and the guy's just sitting there. And, whatever, we don't really think much of it. And we continue our conversation, and a few minutes later, we realize that guy is now gone. We didn't hear him walk away. And mind you, we're talking elevated wood deck. You can hear everything, especially cowboy boots. And, we don't really think much of it until the following week. We're out there again, and they do ghost tours at the Whaley House, which is right next door to where we were. And we overhear the tour guide talking about a ghost that is sometimes spotted in the area that is dressed like a cowboy. So we got a little freaked out after that.
Yeah, no kidding. How about you, Red Ranger? Anything paranormal or supernatural happening in the Emerald City while you're on patrol?
I don't know about paranormal, but there are a few things on patrol that happen that are regular. Like first thing that I'll bring up is people all the time will ask you, well, what's your superpower? And obviously, we don't have things like flight or heat vision, but I'll often answer, conviction or something like that. That is an answer that, we have conviction that allows us to be out here. But that obviously doesn't answer any sort of superpower question. But what we do get is, I call it spider sense. We actually, it's just weird. In Urban Avenger, I'm sure this has happened to you, where you just end up in a spot where you're supposed to be. On patrol, you just end up right at the right spot where something bad is about to happen, and you're right there to intervene. That happens pretty frequently when you get to start walking a city, and you'll sort of have this magnetic gravitation toward trouble. And I don't know how to explain it, but it does happen sometimes. I call it my spider sense. There was this other time, though, that was a little spooky, and I don't know if it wasn't paranormal, but it was spooky. One time while we were downtown on patrol, we didn't really have anything, alarming happen on patrol, but we did notice after a while we were being followed. We noticed that there was this guy that would appear in alleyways that we were at. He would be at the end of the alley, and he was wearing an owl mask, like it looked like an owl, like a white barn owl. And we were like, we would try and talk to him, but he would never talk back. And when we tried to get close to him, he would just walk away. And he would always keep about a block's distance. And, if we tried to run after him, he would run. But because he wasn't doing anything wrong, we didn't see any necessary reason to chase him. So we kept on patrol, and he would just be there some more. He was following us from a block or a half a block away, maybe a side street away, but he would always turn up at, an adjacent corner or an alleyway that we were supposed to be at. Eventually, when we started to end the patrol, we didn't want him to turn up near our vehicles, because it's something we don't want to know where. Right. We don't want him to see our vehicles, where we park. So what we did was we had to actually lead him a different way, so that basically it was me and White Baron that had this idea. And Dragon was there too. We walked in separate directions, around Pike Place, so that he would have to follow one of us the wrong direction. But if he followed one of us the right direction, we would divert, radio into the other one, and walk back toward them. Then they would go to their vehicle. Anyway, we eventually confused him so much that he ran away, because what we did was we started getting behind him in doing this, because he would start following us to our vehicle. Then we would turn a couple corners around. And when we started getting behind him, he started running away. after he ran away, we yelled at him not to follow us again, and we didn't see him anymore. But that was spooky.
Weird, because you don't know what the guy's going to do. If
Yeah.
he's going to all of a sudden pull a gun or a chain or a knife out or anything like that.
Exactly, and why he was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Exactly, and we had never seen that mask before either.
Well, I mean, maybe he's a groupie. And this leads to Mike's question on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. And we got about 90 seconds here, guys. And if you go a little long, we'll push it after the break and get your answers. But Mike is, and I like this question. He's asking, do you have any groupies?
I don't. We do find a lot of people in the city that'll they'll shout, "Oh, superheroes!" or occasionally, I'll hear, "Oh, Red Ranger," and that makes me feel pretty cool because I get recognized. But not much more than that. The kids are big fans of us too most of the time, but that's about it for me.
How about you, Urban Avenger? I know you're married, but do you have any groupies?
Right. Well, I've met a few people, on patrol who wound up following me on Twitter, friending me on Facebook, that sort of thing. It's kind of interesting, but I can appreciate that too, because it's always good to have people out on the streets who recognize you and you can name you by name.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Oh, well, there's also the occasional butt grab too on patrol that we get, from the ladies at the clubs who, they'll come on to you a little bit and you have to sort of brush it off.
Yeah, I don't have that problem here. I don't have that problem. There's nobody around here. If anything, I'm going to get like an alien or a garden gnome at my window saying, "Yoo-hoo, come say hello." But nonetheless, gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on. We are going to go into our final break of our night. Real-life superheroes is the topic tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are joined by Red Ranger and Urban Avenger. What a fun show this is. If you're just tuning in, you can always check the archives tomorrow, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be back with the third hour and more real-life superheroes right after this. If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
There's news, and there's the encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter. Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you looking to keep up with Spaced Out Radio? What better way to do so than to go shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store? It's a great place to get exciting swag that will make you look good. We have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and so much more for you to dress yourself up with. All you have to do is go on our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the store, and get what you want. It's that simple. So come shop at our store, where we can own the night together.
From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to all of you around the world, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I invite you to stick around spacedoutradio.com for Saturday and Sunday nights where I host Spaced Out Weekend. Let me take you on a wild ride of weird and strange topics, from ghosts and ETs to remote viewing, psychic phenomena, and so much more. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time on Spaced Out Weekend, where we own the night.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, we talk California Bigfoot. Investigators Daryl and Russell from NorCal Squatchers is going to be here. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have you with us. Don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Monocopsis. Monocopsis is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Shop at our store. Our brand new store should be up and running within the next couple of weeks here. And you can read up on our news with the Encounter Online. We'd greatly appreciate your support there as well. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guests. Urban Avenger out of San Diego, California, and Red Ranger out of Seattle, Washington. These guys are real-life superheroes. Yes, they wear the uniforms. Yes, they have alternate identities. And they are patrolling the major metropolises, along with many, many other men and women around North America and the world, for that part, in just playing the role of superhero and helping people on daily basis. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, no problem. No problem. We're really enjoying this tonight. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it, man. Let's move on. Let's go into weapons, because there is a lot of concern that you guys are unarmed, you're not carrying a gun, you're not carrying knives. How do you protect yourselves? How do you guys go about, Urban Avenger, protecting yourself while out on the street?
Well, I'll typically carry a really big flashlight, which both doubles as a self-defense item like a baton, and it also is really great at blinding and disorienting people. And I also typically carry a couple of pepper spray dispensers, usually pepper foam, to avoid blowback in my own face. And I also carry a couple of different stun guns of numerous varieties. I have one that is sort of shaped like a horseshoe. That's my favorite one. And I have other ones with like flashlights, and they're also batons too, on top of being stun guns and things like that. So those are usually the things I carry as far as self-defense items are involved.
And how about you, Red Ranger?
Right. So everybody on the team tends to carry something a little different to fit their style. But one thing we always stress is that all of our armaments are 100% legal and non-lethal. So what I carry personally, as aside from just my hands and martial training, is for my own protection. I carry my main weapons, I'd say, would be my pepper blaster, which is a sidearm I carry at my hip that fires a stream of concentrated pepper spray, and it's a stream like a water gun to avoid blowback, and it's concentrated up to about 60 to 70 feet, so that even if somebody is across the street and I needed to deter them, I could. My next weapon that I carry is some smoke bombs. These are airsoft grade and non-harming, non-toxic red smoke bombs that deploy red smoke in a wide area, starts in about a 10-foot circle, and then spreads out from there. This is about crowd control stuff, usually in Mayday situations like I've described previously, where we're getting swarmed by multiple assailants. We want to be able to clear the area with something that's a little confusing. And so, the strategy behind that is if, you're an assailant that's running up on somebody and suddenly he deploys some weird colored smoke, are you going to keep running into it, or are you going to be a little bit deterred? And the idea there is to just give some space to clear an area and make it safe. The next weapon that I carry is my stun baton, and that sits on the inside of my shield, which is my final weapon. But my stun baton is also a flashlight. It's about a foot and a half long and has stun contacts on each point of the stick. Basically, if you touch it, you're going to get shocked. And that I use for close range protection. It also has a flashlight and strobe on it for confusing and blinding. And then the final thing I have is my shield. That is for my protection. It's about the size of a kite shield, and it is, like I said, bullet resistant. And I mainly use it for moving people in crowd situations and my own protection.
Want to give a shout out to Arachnite from Portland, Oregon, who is in our chat room tonight listening into you guys. I'm sure you guys know who he is.
Yeah, good. Shout out, Arachnite. Good to hear from you, buddy.
Tell me about the community of of real life superheroes, RLSH, Urban Avenger, if you don't mind. Is it a big community? Is it relatively small?
Compared to other communities, I'd call it pretty small. I think at any given time, there's probably maybe 200 or 300 active people in the whole world. At our height, I think we had maybe 500. But even then, that's kind of debatable because it's kind of hard to verify who's genuinely out there doing what we do and who's just kind of making stuff up on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
About 100 myself, personally.
Really?
So I can vouch for people like Arachnite. Yeah, you would think so, but I mean, it's also kind of hard to verify. So, I mean, for all I know, there could be 1,000 people out there, but I can only speak from what I've, witnessed on the internet over the years and what I've seen in various news outlets and YouTube channels, things like that.
What kind of rules or regulations do you have to abide by outside of the law, Red Ranger? Because, is there a rule book for the real life superheroes? Because I know you guys all want to be on the same page with everything.
Actually, yeah, I think there is, and there's not necessarily an actual rule book, but there are certain codes of ethics and guidelines that we regularly discuss as serious real life superheroes. And like Urban Avenger brought up earlier, there are a lot of people that go online and for, like you mentioned earlier, the fame will create a fake persona to pretend that they're out there and being a superhero, and it's like a fantasy thing. And actually, Urban Avenger and I have actually done a lot of work in calling that out, because when you have when you're trying to do the work we do, and then the online media is saturated with a bunch of teenagers putting on ski masks and saying, I am Shadow Wolf Darkblade and I patrol solo and the enemies of society will feel my wrath and my blade. Like that's crazy, right? That's a little over the top, and it really can detract from what we're really trying to do. It kind of gives us a bad name. So part of, I think, the code of conduct that we all follow is be serious, be real, be professional, and always be safe. I don't know, Urban Avenger, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
I got to concur with you there. Yeah, no, I have to concur with you 100% there because, like you said, it can give us all a bad name. It kind of ruins the legitimacy of the people who are actually out there doing what we do and, helping people and taking blows and getting blood spilled and, these genuinely dangerous things. And people are out there saying, they jumped off of a 2-story parking garage into the middle of a gang war and they took out everybody with their bare hands.
It's like, yeah, you got to call out the BS,
Oh, very true.
Yeah, it's more for just to save our own reputations, really, because I mean that's really all we kind of have, especially when it comes to programs like this. You wouldn't call us if you didn't think that we were genuine.
No,
yeah, and then we couldn't get the message out, and we couldn't inspire other people.
Yeah.
No, I fully agree, and that's why we're it's an open forum here. We're not here to try and misinform people or the minute you guys get off the air have a good laugh at your expense. That's not what this is about. I mean, you're living your own dream right now. How can anybody argue with that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really important too that while we're living this dream, we continually in our community will have these internal discussions with each other about what's the right way to conduct ourselves. We have a lot of superheroes in the community like Impact and Rock and Roll who will bring these things up just to give them shout outs. And I think that, like you said, when we're living the dream, it's important to police yourself and make sure you're doing it right.
That's the important part. is doing it right. So what rules would be different in some sort of code or whether it's a written down code or just a mental code that you follow, much like sports? You have the rule book and then you have the code. What is something, Urban Avenger, that you make sure that you follow?
I try not to instigate situations. I try not to make things worse than they already are. Like, earlier we were talking about people who antagonize us and, call us names and things like that. The last thing you want to do in those kinds of situations is to reciprocate. You don't want to, start talking smack about somebody and say something bad about their mother or whatever. You want to be professional. You want to be as genuine as possible. You don't want to try and start a fight with somebody just because they're being not a nice person.
And how about
so
for
that's
you
the sort
guys?
Of conduct I hold to myself.
Yeah. And how about for you guys, Red Ranger? Does your team have a specific code that you live by?
Yeah, we have a few, especially on patrol. I mean, we have the codes of, we always want to present ourselves as, I guess the word I want to use is professionals, even though this isn't a profession, we're not getting paid. But in a sense, because it is, like our life work, we want to present ourselves as serious. And so having that mentality that you would take to a job that you would really want is key. And I think that we all have that. Another one is always knowing our priority of intervention. So we always know that de-escalation comes first. We know not to get too hot-headed. And, these are just not codes, but rules that you constantly have to check yourself on if you're going to be successful at patrol. So, in my team, we kind of have that.
Well, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And do these rules change per group? So, for instance, if you're in St. Louis or you're in New York or Boston or Chicago or any place different, are the rules different per group, or do you kind of have a code that each and every one of you try to stick with? Urban?
Well,
go ahead, Urban Avenger. You can take this one.
Yeah, definitely, because some of the rules that we try to follow include our own local laws. And, every city, every state has different laws, including some states have no mask laws. So while Red Ranger and myself might be okay in our respective cities wearing masks, other states might not be, so lenient that way. And you could actually be charged with a felony just for wearing a mask out in public. There was a guy many years ago who got repeatedly, harassed by the police. I believe his name was the Viper or something like that. And he wore like a green.
I think I remember that.
Costume. Yeah, and he wore a mask, and masks were illegal in his city, and the police kept telling him to stop. And the guy, he also carried like ninja stars and stuff like that. So, you might be able to carry a gun or something like that, but I wouldn't recommend it. That's a part of the code of conduct as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jeff on Twitter is asking whether or not anybody has a sidekick, much like Batman has Robin.
I don't like to consider people sidekicks unless I'm training them. And even then, I try to consider them as equal as possible.
Yeah. That's pretty similar on my team, too. The way we operate is everyone on the team is equal standing. There have been other teams in the city that operated where one guy is the leader and everybody listens to what he has to say. And, from what we've seen, that's not a successful way to run a team. So the way we have it is everybody's equal. And, unless we're actively training somebody, nobody really falls into that sidekick role. We don't really use that, but sometimes we're all the sidekick, and sometimes we're all Batman. It depends on what role you're willing to take that night. Actually, this brings up a good point, because often a pretty common way to organize patrol parties is you'll have them by number. At least this is how we do it in this city. In Seattle, we'll have a number one who's the front of the group, and we'll have a number 4 or 5, and that person will stay in the back and will usually be the person who is calling 911, radioing authorities, and getting things organized. I'll have a number 2 who's there to back up the number 1 in combat situations, and a number 3 who's usually there for medical intervention or getting people to safety. So we always organize things kind of like that. You know, you always want to make sure you have a good organizational system when you're on patrol.
Very intriguing. Very, very intriguing. This leads to Kat's question, and I think this one is a great question, to be honest with you. You know, Superman had Lex Luthor. Do you guys have any evil types that give you trouble constantly? Is there a Lex Luthor that you have as your antithesis? Red Ranger?
Only on the internet.
Only on the internet? Oh, that's Urban Avenger.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
There's a few.
Tell me about them.
Go ahead, Urban, yeah.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, no, they're called real life supervillains, and they're typically people. I guess depends on how you want to go about it, but the basic point of a ROSV is to keep people like us in check, keep our egos in check, call out our BS, make sure that we are genuine, make sure that we're not doing underhanded, creepy, illegal things. It's actually proven very effective in the community to have these types of people around because, you know, you might have a superhero who pops up in the community and he's a wife beater or something like that, or a child abuser, and they'll find out. They'll find out, and they'll you know, plaster that stuff all over the internet for you. And you know, they're willing to support the genuine superheroes who prove themselves. You know, and yeah, I generally think of them as very beneficial to the community.
I didn't know that there were real life supervillains.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird moniker they give themselves. Yeah.
And what do they do?
Well, like Urban Avenger said, you know, they mostly are online personas that some of them actually I know engage in charities, and the villain part of their name is, in my opinion, mostly for show, based on how much good they end up doing. And it's mostly for just a fun persona. They want to be the villain to our hero. And yeah, you know, it's about, you know, checking the real life superheroes and making sure that, you know, they're not going sideways. The real villains, in my opinion, to answer the question would be, you know, the actual people who go out and are looking to hurt people. You know, it's the people who are roaming the streets looking for their next victim to steal from or their next victim to abuse. Those are the people we're looking out for, and those are the people we are always, always going to oppose.
We got another shout out from West Devil in Chicago, who's in our chat room as well. So thank you so much for tuning this show in as well. That's really cool of you guys to join in our chat rooms tonight for real life superheroes. Gentlemen, we only got about 8 minutes left, and this is absolutely flown on by. I just cannot believe how fast this show is gone. What do you like to specialize in, Urban Avenger?
Specialize in? You mean like in terms of like patrolling?
When you're out on patrol, what do you like to specialize in?
Yeah.
What do you like to do? What do you like to help with?
I really am all about preventing violent crime, doing escorts, de-escalation, that sort of thing. I really hate seeing people become victims and being taken advantage of. It makes me angry, honestly. And so when I go out and I see people, you know, they're getting pushed around or somebody's drunk and they're, you know, being taken advantage of in some way, that's the kind of thing I like to focus on, and I like to try and stop that sort of thing. And you know, I've been doing it for 8 years, and it's always been 90% of the stuff I do when I'm out on the street.
Do you ever see yourself retiring?
Someday, sure, yeah. A hiatus is one thing. You can take time off because life happens, but retiring, just saying, no, I'm never going to do this again, someday, yeah, like probably when I can't physically do it anymore.
And how about for you, Red Ranger up in Seattle. What is your motto? What is your mantra for specializing in this?
Well, what I specialize in personally on my team is I take the mantle of team medic. Anytime, so that's another thing. You know, I can pepper spray somebody, but I always carry Sudocon on me, which is something that can alleviate the effects of pepper spray. So I'm always there to not only keep people in check, but to also make sure that they are free from harm as much as possible. So that's kind of what I like to lend my skills for most of the time. Of course, I always have my general martial training and de-escalation training for any sort of violent situation. But where my team really calls upon me to do my expertise is when we find somebody in need of medical intervention.
And how about for you? Do you ever see yourself kind of calling it quits one day, or are you having too much fun doing this?
No way. I don't think I'll ever call it quits until, like Urban Avenger says, you know, I have to physically check out. My body won't support doing the work anymore. And even then, I'm probably going to do something Batman style where I've already trained a new Red Ranger to take my place. Something cool like that. Honestly, when you take up something like this, it's really hard to see it stop.
Until then, you just keep it on with this.
That's right.
Yeah, does there ever come a point where you just will not put yourselves in any type of situation? Like, what's the red line for your team, Urban Avenger?
There has to be, there can't be a victim involved. If there's a victim involved, we will get involved. But if someone is just trying to pick a fight with us and they won't leave us alone, then that's, you know, the part where we will try and get out of a situation. You know, and possibly if there is just something that's just so far out there, so far, you know, removed from what we're physically capable of, you know, like SWAT team type stuff, then yeah, we probably would back out of that. But I haven't really ever met a situation that I didn't want to, you know, be involved in. Really, I've never wanted to run away, except for when, like I mentioned earlier, you know, those gang members tried to grab the gun, but they were only after us. We don't need to be a victim ourselves.
And how about for you? What's the red line for your team up in Seattle, Red Ranger?
Where do you ask that? Because in my opinion, the Red Ranger has no red line. Until higher authorities tell me that I need to back off, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure in any given situation that people stay safe and harm is avoided. Yeah, I can't imagine any situation where, like I said, until other authorities get there and they tell me I need to back off, then I'm going to be up front and center, you know, as much as I can be.
Yeah, and at that point, though, it is about safety first. I mean, that's what it is all about, is safety first for not only your teammates, but yourself.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Guys, we only got about 2.5 minutes left with you, and I want to say a wholehearted thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. This show was very, very fast. It was very exciting, and we got to do it again. We definitely have
Absolutely.
to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Urban Avenger, your old hat around here now, Urban Avenger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've got a few hours under my belt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is very, very appreciative. Urban Avenger, do me a favor. Tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and your group.
You can find me on Facebook. Just search Urban Avenger, real life superhero. My like page will show up. I don't post very often, but please feel free to like it and follow it. People do it all the time, despite that it's not that active. But, it's just because I try not to spend too much time on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube. I have an awesome YouTube channel where you can see videos of some of the things I talked about tonight. Please just search it Real Life Superhero Urban Avenger on YouTube and enjoy my videos. There's a lot of cool stuff on there to watch.
Awesome. How about you there, Red Ranger?
Yeah, you can also find us on Facebook. Normally, we actually have all of our patrol logs and videos and pictures archived on our website. Unfortunately, at this moment, our website is down for construction. Normally, you would be able to find that at emeraldcityheroes.org. But right now, that website is down. So until then, you can find our Facebook page. Just look up on Facebook, Emerald City Heroes Organization. And the acronym for that is ECHO, ECHO, and you can find a lot of our patrol logs there. You can also follow us on Twitter at Emerald City Heroes.
Wonderful. Red Ranger, Urban Avenger, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us, tell us all about real-life superheroes and what it's like to live that sort of double life. Really appreciate it, and please stay safe out in the streets.
Thank you so much. You guys stay safe, too.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Coming up next, we have Olaf Phillips coming up with The Encounter.
This is the winter of our lives. We come to play the final scene. The curtains closing in the darkness. We expose what lies beneath.
And once again, as we do every night at this time, we enter The Encounter, where we get to the weird, the strange, the WTF of the news of the night and of the weekend. It's been a strange one already today as we bring in Paranoia Magazine's Olaf Phillips. He's got a good beard. Vice President of Team Stump as well. Olaf, welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Very, very good. We just had Urban Avenger and Red Ranger on real-life superheroes. It's kind of a cool
I've heard
topic.
about these guys. I've heard about these guys. Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it, man. I really don't know if I could do it.
I saw a documentary about them. I'm not, I may have an amazing beard, but I'm not sure I could do it either.
Oh, you know what? And literally, these guys are going out anywhere between 2 and 5 nights a week, just making sure that everyday people are having a good time and feeling safe. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's very cool. It's a selfless, thankless job.
Totally, right? Totally.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise
I
me.
totally agree. It's weird. And I love their suits. The suits they make are crazy. They're really
I know.
impressive.
I know. I'm not that talented. I am not that talented whatsoever. And yeah, Derek on Twitter, Dave's nemesis, the mute button. Yeah, totally. Totally. Hey, I didn't screw up tonight, Derek. I did not screw up, Derek, at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. I didn't screw up. I didn't miss my mute. Because I got this stupid mute button. I do. I have this stupid mute button, and it gets me every time. Yeah, I really enjoyed Urban Avenger and Red Ranger, man. I don't know. I never grew up with comic books. I just never really got into them. I had a few as a kid. I just never really got into them. But for some reason...
I love them.
But for some reason, the fact that there are good people out there who are going out and doing this, I mean, it's selfless. And to devote that much time to the community, doesn't matter how big or how small, I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked that they would give up that much free time to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I grew up with comic books, but I never really got into superhero comic books. I was reading Sergeant Rock and Judge Dredd and Nick Fury versus S.H.I.E.L.D. and, I was reading the Nom, that kind of stuff, X-Men. I never really got into the whole, superhero thing. But it is amazing that there are people that dedicate that much of their lives just to walking around and making sure people are happy and having a good time. I mean, and are safe. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I fully agree. I highly commend them. A lot of people may say that it's weird and, maybe they need to grow up and get out of the childhood fantasy or something along those lines. But these are men and women. They know the decisions they're making, and this is what they want to do. And to me, I'm quite okay with that.
Well, that's like that group that was in New York for a long time. That they wore the red berets. And, they had some problems later on, but, initially, for a very long time, they were just walking around and making sure that people were safe, And the only difference here is that there's a more theatrical kind of presentation. It's maybe a little more fun, but, the intent is still the same.
Oh, I agree. I agree. So, it's Monday. A lot of weird, strange news today coming on out.
There is some weird news. There is a 4-alarm emergency in your future.
Oh, how come?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Coming from BuzzFeed News, the latest victim of climate change, beer drinkers. It kind of adds insult to injury, one scientist said. There's a heat wave, so you want more beer, but it costs more. You ready? Bad news for beer fans. Droughts and heat waves driven by global warming will hurt barley crops, likely doubling the price of beer in the coming decades, according to a study published Monday. By the end of the century, the study predicts heat waves and droughts will damage barley, will happen once every 3 years or so, leading to a roughly 16% drop in beer consumption compared to today. It kind of adds insult to injury. There's a heat wave, you want a beer, but it costs more. Study co-author Nathan Mueller of the University of California, Irvine, told BuzzFeed News, it hits close to home for people. Beer accounts for roughly 17% of the worldwide barley production. Livestock feed is the other major use. In a future where global warming raises atmospheric temperatures over land about 5 degrees, that'd be 9 degrees Fahrenheit, the current business-as-usual track for the world, the barley supply will drop roughly 15% by the end of the century.
Well, if there isn't a reason right now to get on the bandwagon for global warming, it's this one. There's a reason
for this. Save the beer, man.
Yeah.
Save the beer. Our next one, hang on a second.
Yeah.
This comes from the Mirror. Inside an eerie crystal maze themed amusement park that has sat closed for nearly a decade. Creepy footage has emerged from the inside of an abandoned crystal maze themed amusement park in Wales. The popular indoor attraction at Caston Bridge in Pembrokeshire was closed in 2010 after opening for 15 years. It's based on the hit 90s TV show The Crystal Maze. YouTuber Abandoned Explorer regularly gains access to some of the creepiest places in the UK, and he and his crew regularly release incredible footage. It's creepy, man. There's all these different zones, and it's really creepy. You look at the video and you're like, that's an amusement park? Okay.
Would you do that? I think I would investigate an abandoned amusement park. I think that would be cool.
I would. There's actually one not far from me. It's about 4 hours north of me that was based on Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And I have thought about going to that one to see what it's like.
Was there just outside of Portland? Isn't there the Enchanted Forest too? I think they just did that on Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures. Yeah, and it's creepy as hell, and it's haunted.
Yeah, see, I would totally go there. I would totally go
there. But now the big news of the night is not beer shortages, although I know that's going to hit Canada super hard. It's actually, comes from Ars Technica, and it's about the To the Stars Academy and Tom DeLonge.
Now, hold on. Before you start, I know there's going to be a lot of people rolling their eyes at this because we have hammered the Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy for a long time on this show. So what are they going through now?
Now, the article talks about that it's suddenly $35 million in debt. Now, I do take an issue with that. They in the article, they link to the SEC filing. Now, in America, if you have stock and you're a public company of any kind, even a public benefit corporation like the To the Stars Academy, you have to file with the Security and Exchange Commission, financial data and other things so that investors can see. Well, if you actually look at the SEC filing, of course, they have a beautiful logo at the top and all this kind of crap. But it turns out that they're not $35 million in debt. That's actually not true. That has to do with the way that they've issued a bunch of stock, and they have to hold that stock as debt. But it's not like they're actually $35 million in debt. What is actually interesting is a couple of things. The first is that their profit is declining massively. That they've seen I think it's a 57% decrease in sales. So nobody's buying the stuff, and they said, and obviously they're forward-looking statements and all this kind of thing, but they said that's due to them not rolling out enough products and the products they have not being as sellable. So they are losing money. And I think in the fiscal 1 year from interim 2017 to interim 2018, they made a total of $139,000 when you deduct all the cost of doing business and all this other stuff. And it apparently, according to the SEC filing, they owe Tom DeLonge, the company itself owes Tom DeLonge, upwards of $600,000 to $800,000. So there is quite a bit of debt.
Hold on a second. How did that number get so high? Like, I do know at the beginning when we were researching it, DeLonge had the company written in where he was going to pay off his other shell company. I believe it's called R2 Dogs or something like that, a hot dog company.
Right.
They were going to pay off that debt with the money from the To the Stars.
He's also been giving it money. He's been loaning it money to, I think one time he loaned them like $600,000, and then another time he loaned them some other amount of money from his production company. And so that's carried as debt. You think that To the Stars is Tom DeLonge, but in reality, Tom DeLonge and To the Stars are two separate things. So Tom DeLonge is loaning the company money, and he keeps infusing it, and he's taking stock out of it and other stuff, and some of it is being carried in debt. They also secured several business operations loans, which is somewhat typical. If you need to make your accounts receivable is still out in ether, and you need to pay for the product to be shipped because you can't recognize the revenue until it's shipped. So you'll take out a loan to offset your accounts, your accounts payable versus your accounts receivable and all that, right? So that's all pretty normal. I mean, when you look at the actual SEC filing, it looks very much like a startup that's got a lot of debt and not making a whole lot of money. I guess in interim 2017 and 2018, they actually increased their marketing by 243%. They're spending something in the neighborhood of $500,000 a year in marketing. But that's not actually
where are they marketing to?
I don't know. I have no idea. But that's not actually what the news is. The news is not this vapor of 35 million, which isn't true. What actually caught my eye is that in the SEC filings, they make forward-looking statements where they're saying basically what they intend to do in the next fiscal year, right? And there's the normal stuff that you'd expect from the To the Stars Academy. They're going to look at advanced propulsion systems and all this kind of crap. But one thing that was very interesting is that there's a line in there, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to the effect of, we're going to work with large partners to find new business, right? And we're going to work with the U.S. government. And I kind of stepped back for a minute, and I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. So in their forward-looking statement, they're actually saying that they're going to engage the U.S. government in some way to make money. Now, how does that work? The other thing that was very interesting to me, and it's spelled out very clearly in the document, is that they basically said that in order to stay afloat, to keep the business progressing, that they need to sell more stock. So they made, I think, roughly $1.2 million on selling these stock options to people like you and me. Maybe not you and me, but people like us invested into the stars. Well, in order to continue operation, they're going to need to sell more stock in the neighborhood of at least $1.2 to $1.4 million worth of shares to cover their losses and to cover their costs to continue operation. So that's interesting because, much like a startup, they're taking the money in from investors to keep afloat, which means that they're not selling enough stuff, right? But the thing that really caught my eye about it is that they literally said in the SEC filing that they're going to work with the U.S. government on something that will make them money. And I found that to be very weird and very concerning, given what their interests are.
Yeah, that seems odd that they would reach to the American taxpayer for a handout.
No, I don't think we're talking about them reaching out to the American taxpayer for a handout. The implication is not that. It's more like there's some sort of project that they're working on with the U.S. government. It's not so much that they're looking for the U.S. government to give them money. It's more like they're engaging the U.S. government in some sort of a project which will make them money. Now, what that is, I have
almost
no
become a
idea.
Bigelow type contractor.
That's what I was thinking. Because if you look at Bigelow Aerospace, they're an aerospace contractor. You know, the big news with them is that Bigelow took, I think like $16 million or something from the DoD, and he used that money to buy the MUFON sightings database and to fund the star team at MUFON, which MUFON never fulfilled their end of the bargain, so they actually never got paid. So they delivered the database with all the sightings ever reported to MUFON, with all the people's contact information, all their private information, went to Bigelow Aerospace, and then Bigelow gave it to the U.S. government. But he also used that money to do things like buy Skinwalker Ranch and to buy all these other places where these paranormal hotspots. That Bigelow went out and purchased these spaces and then put up chain link fences with razor wire and said, nobody can go in here now. Well, that was all funded by the DoD. So if that's the kind of stuff that To the Stars Academy is cooking up, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it very clearly states that and it's very nebulous, but it implies that they're going to work on some sort of project with the U.S. government that will make them money, which I find very odd.
Has anybody from To the Stars responded to this article?
So I believe it was on Instagram that Tom DeLonge responded and called out the fact that the person who wrote the article obviously didn't understand how the stock stuff works, and that they're not, $35 million in debt and all this. And he said, next time you should contact me, and I'll come and do an interview and explain it all so you understand it. But that had nothing to do with this nebulous statement about engaging the U.S. government.
What's interesting is I actually went to look to see if DeLonge had responded to anything, because I had heard that there may have been something. And when I went back to his Instagram page to see if there was anything there, it's been removed.
Really?
Yeah. It's not the first time Mr. D has done that.
I can believe it, though. I mean, you look at Elon Musk, he got on the Twitter, and, now he's got all kinds of problems. So I could see somebody in the marketing department over at To the Stars going, hold on a minute. We have to have a professionally crafted response to this kind of stuff. You can't just go on Instagram and say whatever. Because, this is legal, right? This is the SEC, this is the U.S. government, blah, blah, blah. But again, I read what he wrote, and it had nothing at all whatsoever to do with engaging the U.S. government on projects. I really, especially given what their interests are, I really find that very odd and concerning.
Well, I'm also concerned the fact that they are now working hand in hand with MUFON. That's another topic for another night, I know. But it's very intriguing. Right before we get to the thought of the Dave, there's a couple of big stories a couple of big deaths over the last couple of days. Start off with in Seattle, Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen passed away, owner of the Portland Trail Blazers, the Seattle Seahawks. Yep. That's a big blow to the industry. And
well, it's also a big blow because he funded the Allen Array. That's part of SETI. There's a satellite dish array out up in the middle of nowhere that he actually paid for and he funded. So, I don't know if he baked something in to continue the funding of that, but he actually was funding various projects for SETI. So, it'll take a bunch of money. If he didn't prepare something for that, it'll take a bunch of money out of SETI, which is not good.
Right. And then the other one, ufologist Sergeant Robert Dean, passed away at the age of 89 on the 11th.
I read that. That is a big blow. He was a staple of the ufology kind of speaker circuit. And, he always had some very interesting things to say. I mean, you can look at things that he said and pick out specific parts of it that you don't like or don't make sense to you. But the bigger message, it was always a very interesting thing to talk about because, but now he's, with him being gone, it's yet another mainline conspiracy researcher or ufologist that's no longer with us, like Jim Mars and
I was just going to bring
Brad
him up.
Brad Steiger passed away.
Yeah,
but a lot of the people, I don't think a lot of the fans out there, so to speak, really think about it. But a lot of these researchers are very old, and there's not necessarily a lot of people that fill that vacuum. But that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, we've had that conversation. I actually had that with Grant Cameron the other day. I said, what are you going to do with your research once your time comes? And he plans on donating all of his research. There is a paranormal/UFO museum in Sweden that collects research. And that's where he plans on sending all of his research. It's too bad we don't have one here in North America, but what can you do?
Well, and that's good and fine, right? So the people can fly to Sweden and go through it. The problem is in ufology is that it's not like there's a protege. It's not like there's somebody waiting in the wings.
I agree.
That's familiar with it, because in a lot of cases, there is no second tier that comes up to the first tier, because they're excluded. So what it's going to do is as these people pass away and it leaves this vacuum, there's nobody already floating up to fill the void.
I agree.
And it's going to change. It's going to change the nature of ufology.
We're going to get to the thought of the day right now.
Okay. You're thinking.
I'm thinking too. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where during the day we ask a question on our Twitter and Facebook pages, and then we read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. So today's Thought of the Day is as follows. If you were a real-life superhero, what would be your character and why? We'll start off with Danny on Twitter. He said, I would call myself Backbone to symbolize the backbone of my community. I gave this a lot of thought a while back. When I was single, I almost started doing it. Then I met a girl, fell in love. Now I'm a husband with 3 children, and I wouldn't dream of putting my life in danger. That being said, hats off to anyone who has the backbone to actually do it. I would agree with that. WGAFA says, The Animal Avenger. I protect all animals with my kick-ass powers. Nice. Very, very nice. Let's move over to Facebook, shall we? Sylvia says, an American soldier. They give so freely of their lives to keep us safe and help people in need all around the world. That's awesome. Coral would want to be Wonder Woman because back in the day, her arsenal of weapons was the lasso of truth. Beautiful. Just beautiful.
And the cufflinks that can, like, deflect bullets. I always thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Man, did she cause a lot of ricochets.
She did. And the invisible jet. I mean, the invisible jet was crazy. The idea that she goes cruising over your house and you just see her sitting in midair as she flies over your house. That always boggled my mind.
Could see her shifting if she had a gas problem.
That's right.
Russ says, I would be Burrito Man. I would knock out villains with one hand while eating a burrito with the other one. My superpower would be mass consumption of burritos without gaining weight. I want to be that character, too. I really do. I'll be Hot Wings guy. I'll be Hot Wings
creative.
Guy. Yeah.
I'll be Steak Man.
Tim says, we all know who the gnome will be, but the superpower? Question mark. Jeff in Edmonton says, I would like to be Indecisive Man, and my superpower would be X-ray vision. No. Flying. No. Teleportation. No. Invisibility. No. Oh, I don't know. Dave says, Super Dave, because Daves can do anything. Amen. Amen. The Ukrainian watermelon wants to be the Canadian version of Wonder Woman. Be a little cold at this time of year, Ron.
Well, you had to have a parka.
Exactly. Robin, I would like to be called Multiple Man. I can make multiple copies of myself to be in different places, but knowing what I am doing all of the time, like having one mind with multiple copies. That's actually cool.
Very confusing, though.
Very. Dale, with his power mustache, says Chuck Norris, because there's nothing to fear but Chuck Norris himself, or because of the beard. Either way. Dale's mustache must have said that. I don't think that was Dale. I think that was Dale's mustache.
But does Chuck Norris fear Chuck Norris?
Oh, I think so. I think so. Adam says, I would like to be the Jolly Green Giant with a gnome as a sidekick. Wow. Creative. Thanks, Ad Gnome. Gregory, the Rectifier. My superpower would be an electromagnetic suit that protects me from any size weapon. It would also have the ability to shoot pulses of energy at the bad guys. My objective would be to stand with people that are being screwed over by corporations and make sure all of those corporations paid for their perpetrations. Rated R for revenge. We're going to leave it right there.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
That's a good one to start.
And Gail?
That's the top.
And Gail, Captain Shirk, you need a cape. You need a cape. Every article you write for The Encounter now has to have a cape. Mr. Olaf Phillips, where can we find Paranoia Magazine?
ParanoiaMagazine.com, and check out our CIA airline t-shirts.
Nice. Nice. And you can read all of Spaced Out Radio news at spacedoutradio.com. Go over to the news section. That's where we hide The Encounter, or the Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Want to say a big thank you, Mr. Phillips, for joining us. Thank you.
Anytime.
No problem. Big thank you to Urban Avenger and Red Ranger for joining us. Real-life superheroes, the big topic of the night. Tomorrow night on the program, Daryl Owen will join us. We're going to be talking Bigfoot in California. What's happening with the reigning hide-and-seek champion? 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, wherever you may be. Big thank you to everybody on Spreaker for chatting away tonight and asking your questions. Everyone at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, and the Veterans Club, the SOR Space Travelers on Facebook, along with those chatting in Revolution Radio. Thanks for sharing the show, telling your friends, and doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good night, everyone. See you tomorrow.
1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching.